go live. Here's what it's going to.
This meeting is being broadcast on Facebook Live.
Okay. We are going to be on now, Charlie. This is it. We did it.
We good?
Oh my gosh. Can you believe it? You know, it's so funny because I'm not technologically savvy, but having this platform was so easy for me. But it seems like there's a glitch every single time. Like, where did you go? There you are.
I'm back.
There you are. So thank you all for being so patient with Charlie and my interview. We're here now, and we're going to be here for probably about 30 to 45 minutes. I want to tell you a little bit about the show. First of all, I want to thank you all for joining What's Your Story? And this is my passion, to be the host and interviewer for all the amazing stories that people will share with us throughout the world. It's not just here in Chiang Mai. It's not just in Denver or Seattle. It's really all over the world. My guests are coming from everywhere. I've heard so many different answers from asking what's your story, from people telling me about their childhood to listening to their accomplishments as if they're reading from their resume. There is no right answer. I see it as a fascinating study on people and how they interpret the question's meaning. It is also a great reminder that each of us have our own unique story, filled with ups and downs, tragedy, triumph, and everything in between. This show is about you and whatever you decide to share. It could be personal, about your business, about your struggles and your triumphs, what it is that can create human connection. I do know that inspiration begins where your story ends, for all of us in some way. I'm honored to be the host of the show, What's Your Story? And to connect with you and your story all over the world. But let's be clear. Everyone has their own unique story, and what they did or didn't do is theirs to experience. There's no judgment here, no debate, just a period of time in someone's life that they decided to share and give us the opportunity to listen. I call them courageous, confident, and caring people. People who are not afraid to talk about what they're doing and share their ideas with others. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is my honor to bring real people and real stories that I hope will inspire you. And today, my guest is Charley Johnson, and I have known Charley for quite a while. In fact, the first time I watched Charley's video, it was so inspiring that I started Denver Pay It Forward movement, and I started to distribute bracelets through Pay It Forward. So I've known Charley for a long time, and he inspired me, gosh, I think 5-6 years ago now, right? And yeah, and since then, Charley has done so much more. He's an entrepreneur. He's a former owner and executive vice president of a very successful manufacturing company. And he has a deep passion for Pay It Forward and human connection. Today, Charley is very busy as the CEO for the Ripil app, R-I-P-I-L. Ripil is a social media for good. If you want to do good, see good happening around you in the world, Ripil is the place to go. Their platform was built on every possible tool, and I love this, to keep people engaged and inspired to do and spread good around the world. I mean, what could be better than that, right? So thank you so much for being here and being patient with our technical problems. I appreciate it.
No
So let's talk. I mean, it's been a few years since we had a little bit of a conversation, but the last time we talked, you were in the Pay It Forward Foundation, and how things worked what was good about that? What was tough about that?
I mean, the good things about it was the nonprofit world. It had the book and the movie behind it. It had a lot of momentum. It just needed a little extra help. It needed the help of you and thousands of others across the world. And your radio show and everything else everyone was inspired to do, it really grew. It really had some great things in it. We handed that foundation off to a great guy by the name of David Goodwin back in 2015. Now, the bad things about the nonprofit world is you're just always struggling for cash. You're always struggling for resources. You're always struggling for something to do, something to ask people to do. And with Pay It Forward, one of the things we tried to do is we tried to do some trademarking. We tried to find out what we could do to really centralize the way people looked at this movement. Right. Unfortunately, as the lawyer put it, the horse is out of the barn and it's running down the road. So you have thousands of different Pay It Forward groups all going off in 1,000 different directions with different logos and different colors, different ideas, different egos. And what happens is people want to help. They want to be a part of Pay It Forward. But if they're being bombarded in 100 different directions, a lot of times when they have too many choices, they don't make a choice at all. Right. And it was frustrating to see. It's interesting to see in the nonprofit world how hard it is to work with each other. Yes. There's a lot of ego involved. A lot of people think big is wrong. They want to stay small. I don't understand that. And it just, we did some great stuff, but it was time to get back into the for-profit world. And right. I think this realm of good and kindness, I think it needs to be taken more seriously. And I think it needs to, I think we need to approach it like a big business. I think we need to figure out some way for the world to find out it exists. Yeah. Because if someone puts towards their effort, time, and resources to a nonprofit or to a movement, and then 3 months later that URL is not active because the organization's gone. Exactly. See no reason to help in the future. And that's constantly what's happening with these little nonprofits is, and I don't want to put anything, I don't want them to stop doing what they're doing, but we need a Coca-Cola of kindness. We need something that people can get used to and understand and see years down the road after their efforts have really paid off. Oh, I agree with you 100%. Nonprofits, when you're in a nonprofit, because I started Dress for Success in Denver, you go to bed thinking about how to make money and you wake up thinking about how you're going to make money for the nonprofit. And what I'd like to see, like you're talking about, is more businesses just putting aside a piece to give back, whatever that is. Maybe it's creating a night, or maybe it's creating a time, or like there's just so many things that small businesses or businesses can do to give back. You don't have to be a nonprofit to give back. Well, the thing is too is don't get us wrong. Every business does give back, but there's a great book called Uncharitable by Dan Pillar, and that will absolutely open your eyes. It's the nonprofit world is funded by about $220 billion a year, but it's a $2 trillion problem. So we have a tenth of the resources we need, and we expect to solve those problems. But every year, year in, year out, we give the same money to the same organizations. They do the same stuff, which is great work, but it's not enough of what we need to do. Those organizations, the Apples, the Coca-Colas, all these organizations that nonprofits may look. The funny thing about nonprofits is they don't like big business and they don't like rich people. But those are the first people they go after, because that's where the resources are. Right. We need that Apple. We need that Coca-Cola. Those larger organizations that are just flush in cash, they can do so much more than nonprofits for the world, and they actually do. They just don't get the press for it. Right. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that people don't know about, but it's I think the absolute base foundation of switching the consciousness of this planet are the little random acts of kindness. That's something that really rang true to me. That's why I love to Pay It Forward, and Catherine and you and everyone we met. The ultimate foundation of this world is based off of one human helping another human. Yeah. And I think if we can get more people doing that, it's a rising tide brings up all ships. And if we can get a simple number of 10 million kind acts that happen today that didn't happen the day before, that's massive. That's massive. And that's why Ripil was created. It's so true, what you say about, kindness. And I post about it all the time because I still have Denver Pay It Forward movement Facebook page, and I post in it every day. And, it's really about kindness. It's really free. I mean, what does it cost to open a door or to say hello to someone? I mean, even hello seems like a burden sometimes to people, to just acknowledge another person. I mean, that's kindness. And I understand the world is changing. The United States has certainly changed. I'm living in Chiang Mai, Thailand now,
Things are changing all over the world, but this is the opportunity now to go with those changes and start implementing good things that every one of us can be part of. So, and tell us about Ripple. I mean, tell us about that.
Well, that's another frustrating thing is, what you're speaking of is such a simple process, but a lot of times when people find out if it's too simple, it can't be impactful. So it's not worth their time. Ripple, one of the greatest things is we tried to fight human nature with pay it forward the first few years, and we tried to get people off social networking. We tried to get them to do physical acts. But the number one goal of what we were trying to do was we were trying to make good and kindness big. We can't fight human nature. We've got to go with them. And if you've got 2 billion eyeballs on social networking and on apps, you've got to create that app. Yeah. And Ripple's been working on for the last couple of years, and we didn't want to recreate the wheel. We wanted to make it just as seamless as possible for people to jump from Facebook or Twitter or Instagram over to Ripple. We wanted to give it every single feature possible. And one of the first questions everyone asks is, how do you keep a platform just good and kind? And my first example is LinkedIn. Yes. LinkedIn kept 400 million people professional because their message up front was professional. Yes. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram wants everything, all of it, anyone at all times, and that's what they got. Unfortunately, the thing that rises to the top on those social networks is the negative. Now, there is a lot of good. I'm not saying that's wrong. If there was a location, a platform such as Ripple, that there was nothing but good and kindness, that's massive. We've got great traction. We've got the features. We've got the good news. Now what we're trying to do is just raise more money, and we're trying to get to the point where we can have those big marketing budgets, because Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat, everyone thinks those things went viral on their own. No, they had large marketing budgets, and they took off. And I think Ripple will do the same thing. I really think Ripple, this is a very large goal, and a lot of people would be scared to say this, but I think Ripple could overtake all social network. I think it could shift Facebook. I think it could shift Twitter. I think it could shift Instagram. I think it could shift the 2 billion people on social networking talking about what they just ate, how much money they make, the vacations they take, how much they hate Trump or how much they hate Hillary. All this is just a distraction. It's so much info that's useless to the world. Imagine if 10% of those people started talking about the good things they did every day.
Right.
And the funny thing is, we get so much feedback of people saying, I don't want to post about a good, kind deed I did because I feel like I'm bragging. But you go on you'll go on their Facebook page, and it's just full of all this illicit and negativity. And I don't understand the thought process of not wanting to speak of good, because most of these people have kids, and every one of these parents wants their kid to grow up in a more kind world. If you want to be a more kind world, it starts with you. It starts with what you put out into the world. It starts with what you put on social network. Mm-hmm. People see too much negativity, and we've got to give them an area, a platform, something that they can go to and see nothing but good. And that's what we plan on Ripple for.
Well, and you fake it till you make it. I mean, quite frankly, people on my Facebook page, for instance, I always post quotes that I need to hear. And if someone else gets something out of that, oh my gosh, what a bonus. What a bonus. So unfortunately, and I don't live in the United States anymore. And because I don't, it was a time to open my eyes to certain things that were making me stressed out, that were making me not move forward, that were making me, get caught up in that rat race. And you're right. People post about, what they're eating. I do that. People post about, what vacation they're on. But then it goes into politics. Then it goes into some very negative stuff where people start being nasty to each other, which I refuse to engage in any of that. But imagine if Facebook, and let's call it Ripple now, you could only be on there if you were going to talk about good, or not even that, but today was painful. Today was awful. And this is what came out of it. People I like to hear that. Like, I have crappy days. I have days that I don't want to get out of bed or I don't feel like doing anything. But I can tell you, once I start thinking about the good things that I have and start posting about positive things, my whole thing shifts.
Well,
So,
I mean,
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. You were talking about the positive thing. I mean, Facebook did an experiment back in 2014, and they got in trouble for it. They manipulated the news feeds of about 500,000 of their users. And when they posted a negative comment or posted a negative article, everyone spoke negative, and they continued to post negative. When they switched it up and they posted a positive article, everyone posted positive.
Wow.
And even Facebook knows that. And I think Zuckerberg even put together a team in Facebook that's nothing but social media for good.
Right.
And I'm sure they're doing that, but it's so drowned out with everything else that's going on in this world. You and I were talking about this before we jumped on here. We have far too much information. It's not about new information. It's about disseminating what we have and putting it to better use. We've got too many distractions, too many games to watch, too much reality TV, too much social media, too much caring about what others are doing. And it's just people don't realize what happens and how much that eats away at us, because it happens on an hour-to-hour basis, a day-to-day basis. And then we wake up and we wonder what the hell just happened.
Right. So tell us about Ripil. If you can share with us, first of all, how it's an app. I know that.
Yeah,
and
Ripil.
Go ahead and I want to hear all about it.
I'll let loose on it. Ripil was literally created just as another social network. We didn't want to fight human nature anymore. We wanted to be where everyone's eyeballs were, where the phones were in someone's pocket. And Ripil was created for nothing but good and kindness. There's features on there to post good that you see, a deed you've done, a deed you saw someone else do. And then the new feature, the idea that we're coming up with that people are absolutely loving, is we want to create like a marketplace, a platform where people can actually ask for a deed. So what would happen is a nice old lady or neighbor will say, I need my garbage cans pulled in. And she'll post that on there, or someone will post, I need a ride to work. My car's been broken down. It'll populate to maybe a 25 to 50 mile radius. And anyone within that radius that's a Ripil user could pop in, go in, check it marked, and drop into that person, give them a ride to work, walk their dog, help them with the neighborhood. People are absolutely loving that idea, because one of the weird things, you look at Uber, and if you were to ask people 5 years ago, hey, will you allow a stranger to pick you up? They'd say no. Airbnb, will you allow a stranger to live in that for a couple of weeks in their empty room of yours? They would say absolutely not.
Right.
But you create technology where you can vet people out. Uber took advantage of already existing cars and drivers. Airbnb took advantage of homes and empty rooms. I think Ripil could actually be the same thing as those, but we could take advantage of the extra 5 to 10 minutes people have every day on their way to work, on the way home, on the way to school,
right,
to be available for a random stranger that needs a ride to work, that needs a drink, that needs food, that needs their garbage cans, their dog walked, some old lady who needs the leaves raked. It could get to the point where it's like a GoFundMe, where a third party would come in and say the neighbor's house is the yard's getting out of control. I need someone to come over and help. I think we literally could get to the point where one of the main things you and I spoke about many years ago was I didn't want this to be a small thing. I didn't want a couple hundred or 1,000 or even 1 million people. I want to figure out some way to engage 7.7 billion people, because it doesn't matter if they're with you and I right now on a laptop, a nice home, or someone who doesn't have what we have. There is something they can do for someone next to them that could increase their day. They make their day better. Right. I didn't sell my house and my car and move back to my parents' house for this to be small. I want to go all in. I want this to be big. And the main goal is to make good and kindness something that people can't ignore, to make it so a news broadcast isn't the last 30 seconds of every broadcast of some little tiny good story and then people forget about it. Right. If there's 20 stories on a news broadcast and 19 of them are negative, let's see if we can get that to 5 stories of good, 10 stories of good. I think we can get to that. I think, especially after the last election and everything that's going on right now, I think people are sick and tired of negative. but they've never had a place where they could go where there's nothing but good and kindness.
No.
Now again, there are some great websites like the Good News Network and a couple other news publishing places, but they don't get the traction because they won't work with each other. They get 20 or 50,000 users, they get followers, they get readers. But what we need to do is we need to figure out some way, a platform, which I believe is going to be Ripple, to congregate like we did on Ripple, where we suck in every piece of good news published every day. It comes into one location.
Oh, wow.
People are distracted with far too many things to look at. So if we can bring all the good and kindness into one location, I think it'd be a lot easier, and we could remove the friction for people to actually see good, share good, and do good.
Yeah.
And the thing is with Ripple, this is a for-profit entity. We are going to figure out some way to make this so people care, so people will invest, and we can put some big money behind it. Because one of the biggest things I learned in the past 4 or 5 years with Pay It Forward is everything stays small. Everyone wants small. They want to be in the nonprofit world. They want to struggle for money. They think struggling is part of being good. Well, if you're only getting to a couple hundred people or a couple thousand people, what if your message of good and kindness could get to 500 million people? What if it could get to 1 billion people? What if Facebook was nothing but good and kindness? That's where we need to think. Exactly. That's what we want to do with Ripple. Someone's got to have that crazy goal, but we don't want it to be small. We need to put resources behind it. If anyone, it needs to be big. Good and kindness needs the recognition. It can no longer be a side project for people who have already taken a lot of money away from some business, because everyone talks about giving back. That means you've already taken something and you have a guilty conscience and you want to give back. The reason side projects don't work is because they're a side project. The golden goose is still what they're focusing on. A lot of this stuff is always built by a multimillionaire or a billionaire on the side. Imagine if they put legitimate resources. I'm not talking $1 million here and then wondering why it doesn't work and they go away. Look at Ripple, give us some big resources, and I can promise you we can turn this into something bigger than Facebook.
I absolutely love that. And I think that you're right about the fact that once you invest into something, it becomes something that you're going to do. Unfortunately, that's the way the world works. Not unfortunately, I don't want to say unfortunately, but I mean, if I see something, and it costs money, I'm thinking, well, that must be worth something. That's what I always think. Instead of, oh, well, that's free. Why is it free? Kindness is free, but if we can create something that we can all engage in and start changing our mindset to kindness and giving back instead of what can I have for me? Is my house big enough? Is my car big enough? Do I have a lot of money that I can just have? I mean, it's just, it's so different now. It's so different about kindness. And I think it would be so nice, like you said, to log into something in the morning and it would be all good. There would be positive quotes. And, hey, there's a lady over there that needs her leaves raked. Maybe I should head over there.
That's exactly what it is. We built in a bunch of push notifications. And, a lot of push notifications come from Facebook and Twitter, and they pop up and they show a story. Imagine if you woke up and it was all Ripple notifications of a couple dozen deeds that were done overnight in your city, how much that would change. And the thing, back to what you were talking about just a second ago, at the beginning of Pay It Forward and what we were doing, or with the nonprofit world, and there's a lot of people that think money is bad and having a house and a car and everything that's about success is bad. I don't want to change that. People can have whatever they want. I just want to take advantage of the free 2 minutes they have every day, 5 minutes they have every day, 10 minutes they have every day. Because a lot of people, you look at all the volunteer apps, you look at all the people who volunteer for nonprofits. People don't realize how small a percentage it is. So all these volunteer apps are trying to gain that other 90% that don't do anything. There's a reason why they don't do anything. There's a lot of friction. They don't have time. They don't understand what they can do next. They don't know where to go, how to be involved. If we could get to the point where we allowed people to do good from the pocket, from an app, and they could be suggested by someone that needs some help, and it's on their way to work, it's in their neighborhood, it's on the way to grab something to eat, it's on the way to school. If we could remove the friction of people doing kind acts for other people, that would be absolutely massive, because with Pay It Forward, it's a very hard call to action. Even the really, larger organizations like Random Acts of Kindness Foundation, they have some great backing. They have, I think, a billionaire that works that. But you go to that website and they're doing a lot of education. They're doing a lot of great things. But there's never been a platform for these kids, for individuals, for schools, for companies, for organizations to come on and to measure it. I know this is a terrible quote. If it's not measurable, it's not real. And I know a lot of people don't like that, including myself. But imagine if people would do a deed and they would see that they're one of 10,000 that happened in that city that day. And they could see that it built up and their city became more kind. Their school became more kind. We need to allow them to measure it. We need to allow them to see what happens next. We need to give them an organization and a platform that's going to be around next year.
Right.
Because a lot of people will submit stories to these websites, just stories, and they'll go to see who commented on their story 6 months later and it's gone.
Right, right.
We have to put resources into good and kindness. We can no longer treat it like a side project. We've got to give it the time. We have to give it the time and energy. If we want this to be big, it can no longer be unhappy thoughts and hoping the best for people and hoping someone else will do it. We've got to figure it out.
Yeah, and I think working like those organizations you're saying don't have that platform. It would be great if somehow, I love collaboration. I love partnerships. So wouldn't it be great if, Random Acts of Kindness said, hey, let's work together with this Ripil thing. Let's post it. Let's put it on our website. Let's do something like that. That would be fantastic.
That's what we got to work on. That's the old chicken and the egg, because I do understand why they don't come now. They need eyeballs. Facebook has 1 billion eyeballs. I don't. I've got to figure out some hook. I've got to figure out some way to gain more users so organizations will start slowly coming our way, because they're good people, but they're not stupid.
Yes.
They're not just going to come over to Ripil and not get the clicks and the likes and the eyeballs. They need help.
Right, right. And so, as I hear you talk about all this, I see such drive and passion about it. What happened somewhere along the way that made you so hell-bent to really get this thing going and really stand behind it and really give up everything to get it going? Because you didn't have to.
You moving to Thailand and you and I talking about what we talked about before this interview, you'll understand. There is an inner voice in everyone telling them what to do. And the quickest way to unhappiness is going against that. And I had that manufacturing company, and it's doing really well. My old partner, they are just blowing up. They're doing great. But there was a time there from 2010 to 2011 that you couldn't have given me $100 million. And I know people won't understand that, but I didn't want to step foot in that office ever again. There was something in me. I all of a sudden I didn't want to fly. I was scared to fly. But as soon as I left that business, we traveled the world. There was a voice in me just begging me to leave, begging me to do something that I really wanted to do. And when I left that business, got more heavily involved with Pay It Forward, I told myself that I would continue to listen to that inner voice, even if it drove me into the ground. And that inner voice just took over, and it's led through to Pay It Forward, and Pay It Forward has been great. And then it led to Ripil, and there's been lawsuits, and there's been back and forth, and there's been different partners, but that inner voice is still guiding me here, because there's a lot less fear than I thought there would be, even being at this end of the spectrum.
Oh, I think it's awesome. I'm so happy to have you in the world with us and really pushing, to really have people have a look. So tell me, so I can go onto my phone and I can go to the app place on any phone, and I can search for RIPIL, right?
Yeah, you can go. It's on iTunes. It's on Android. They're both up to date with each other, and you can actually go to Ripil.com. We do have a web app as well.
Oh, fabulous! So you can you can use it on your computer as well.
Yeah, we wanted to do that for the kids who didn't have small phones. So there's a lot of first, second, third grade, fourth grade teachers who want to allow their students to do good, so they can go on their laptop, or iPad, and enter their deeds.
Oh, I love that. I didn't know it was on the computer as well. So that's a really nice feature, because so many people spend time on the computer, maybe more than their phone because they're at work or whatever they're doing. So to be able to log on to Ripple and kind of see what's happening, that's pretty exciting. If people want to sign up to get updates from you, how do they do that, Charlie?
They could email me at Charlie,
Okay.
CarleyPIF@gmail.com, or they could just jump on the Ripple page on Facebook and message me there.
That's fantastic. I now that you've been on the show, I'm going to Ripple when we're done here, and I'm going to get myself together because, it's an added thing that we can sort of ease our lives into. That's how I see it, because not all of us, I don't understand why people don't buy into kindness and why people don't think that kindness sells.
Sure.
It's always been a bone in my contention. I've always had a problem with it because, like you said, if we had 5 stories with the 19 stories that were good, slowly, we start thinking about those things. And unfortunately, we're crammed with all the negative all the time and drama. And if we're not living drama, then we are not living. And I got to say, I don't really live in drama anymore. I don't watch TV. I don't listen to the news. I get the news off of Facebook just by hearing what people post. So for me to have this app, it's going to make a world of difference in my world. I can tell you that.
That's awesome. That's great.
And I'm so glad that we had a little time to talk today, because really I'm always grateful to you for that first video that I saw, to really get my mind thinking that I needed someone to be kind to me. And in turn, if I wanted kindness, I had to give it. And it's changed my life. It's changed my world. And I am so grateful to have you in my life, and just be here to promote kindness and teach us more about kindness every day. And the thing I love is that you don't just talk the talk, you walk it. And there's a lot of people in the world that just talk about how great they are and how kind things are, how whatever they do, and you never see it. So
Nope.
Thank you very, very, very much for being here. And please come on again if there's anything you want to talk about with Ripple, or, we can also do, this is pretty interesting, on this platform, Blue Jeans, you can almost put us on your computer, and you can actually walk us through the whole Ripple, because this is like a go-to meeting.
Demo. Okay, I got you. Beautiful. Cool.
So if you want to, do that moving forward, I would really love that.
Okay.
I think it would be very helpful for everyone to kind of see, and you could talk about the different aspects of Ripple, because there's a lot to it. But once you get it down, it's good. So
that's part of. That's the same thing with Facebook. Everyone thought it was confusing, but there were so many people on board. We figured out a way to use it.
Yes.
And if we want this world to be kinder, just take a little time and learn how to use Ripple, and you'll get used to it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Charlie. I really appreciate you being here, and keep up the kindness work.
Thanks for helping us spread the word.
Bye, Charlie.
See you, Kathy. Yeah.